Okay, so before we get started, I just wanted to show that I do have my lesson plan here, and you can see it. And then I have my materials with my 5 vocabulary cards right here, and I have a book that I'm going to read with my sticky notes so that I know where to look. Good afternoon, class. Today we're going to learn 5 new vocabulary words. Our vocabulary words are from a book that we're going to read here in a little while, and I will show that book to you in just a minute. But first, we're going to talk about our 5 vocabulary words. Okay, so the first one is private. Can you say it with me? Private. Private is something that is a secret, or it is something that is only yours. So something very personal to you. It's private to you. So sometimes we can go to private parties, and that would be like a secret party. Or when you get a new toy, it is your own private toy. So it means that it is only your toy. It is your personal toy. So, private. Say it with me. Private. Our next word is frightened. Say it with me. Frightened. So frightened is when you're scared or afraid. You frightened me when you jumped out of the bushes. Or sometimes when we ride roller coasters, we can get really frightened. So it might scare us, or we might be afraid of something. So it frightens us. Okay? So frightened. Say it with me. Frightened. Our next word is gnashed. Can you say this with me? Gnashed. Gnashed is when we grind, crush, or grit. So sometimes when we eat something very tough, we may have to gnash our teeth to chew our food, right? Or sometimes we gnash or grit our teeth when we're angry, right? So gnashed. Say it with me. Gnashed. Our next word is tumbled. Say it with me. Tumbled. So tumbled is when you roll around everywhere. So we play with our friends sometimes and we tumble around on the floor or on a trampoline, or sometimes waves can tumble on a beach, right? So say it with me. Tumbled. Our last word is mischief. Say it with me. Mischief. Mischief is when we make trouble. So when we're causing trouble, our parents may tell us, stop causing all that mischief. Sometimes we can even be mischievous, which means that we like to cause trouble a lot, right? So mischief. Say it with me. Mischief. Okay, so now we're going to look at our book. We're going to read Where the Wild Things Are. And the story is written by Maurice Sendak. But guess what? The pictures are also drawn by Maurice Sendak as well. So by looking at the book, what do you think our story may be about? Maybe monsters? That's a good idea. What else? Something that may frighten us, maybe? Maybe. Okay, so when we read our book, Where the Wild Things Are, I want you to listen for our 5 vocabulary words, okay? And when you hear one of our five vocabulary words, I want you to give me a thumbs up. Okay, so let's go over our vocabulary words one more time before we read our book. That way we know which words are our vocabulary words so we can give a thumbs up, okay? All right, so private. Say it with me, private. Frightened. Say it with me, frightened. Gnashed. Say it with me, gnashed. Tumbled. Say it with me, tumbled. Mischief. Say it with me, mischief. Okay, so remember, when we read our book and you hear one of our vocabulary words, give me a thumbs up, okay? Okay, where the wild things are. The night Max wore his wolf suit and made mischief of one kind and another. His mother called him Wild Thing, and Max said, "I'll eat you up." So he was sent to bed without eating anything. That very night in Max's room, a forest grew. And grew. And grew until his ceiling hung with vines and the walls became the world all around. Goodness. And an ocean tumbled by with a private boat for Max, and he sailed through the night and day. And in and out of weeks, and almost over a year to where the wild things are. And when he came to the place where the wild things are, they roared their terrible roars, and gnashed their terrible teeth, and rolled their terrible eyes, and showed their terrible claws. Till Max said, "Be still," and tamed them with the magic trick of staring into their yellow eyes without blinking once. And they were frightened and called him the most wild thing of all, and made him king of all wild things. "And now," cried Max, "let the wild rumpus start." "Now stop," Max said, and sent the wild things off to bed without their supper. And Max, the king of wild things, was lonely and wanted to be where someone loved him best of all. Then all around from far away across the world he smelled good things to eat. So he gave up being king of where the wild things are. But the wild things cried, "Oh, please don't go. We'll eat you up. We love you so." And Max said no. The wild things roared their terrible roars, and gnashed their terrible teeth, and rolled their terrible eyes, and showed their terrible claws. But Max stepped into his private boat and waved goodbye, and sailed back over a year, and in and out of weeks, and through a day, and into the night of his very own room, where he found his supper waiting for him, and it was still hot. All right, so can you tell me what the beginning of our story was? Yeah. Max was causing a lot of mischief, right? Yeah. So he was sent to his bed without supper. Yeah. So what happened after that? What happened in the middle of the story? Do you think maybe he ran into some frightening monsters called wild things? Yeah. What did they do? They frightened him. They caused a lot of mischief. And what else? They gnashed their teeth, right? Yeah. But how did Max get to where the wild things are? He rode in the tumbling ocean in his private boat, right? So what happened at the end? Yeah? He wanted to go back home. So what did he do? He got back in his private boat and rode the tumbling ocean back home. Did he cause any more mischief after that? No. Okay, so now I want to review our vocabulary words, okay, that we heard in our book and that we talked about before we read our book. So the first word was private. Say it with me. Private. What is private? What does private mean? Yeah, it's a secret. Yeah. Or it's something that's yours, it's personal, right? Good job. All right, say it one more time. Private. Frightened. Say it with me. Frightened. And what does frightened mean? It means to be scared or afraid, right? So we might get frightened from someone jumping out of the bushes at us or riding a roller coaster. It might scare us, so it might frighten us. Yeah. Okay, so frightened. Say it with me. Frightened. Gnashed. Say it with me. Gnashed. And what does gnashed mean? It means to grind or crush or grit, right? So we may grit our teeth when we're mad. Or we may grind or gnash our food if it's too tough. Yeah. Okay, so gnashed. Say it with me. Gnashed. Tumbled. Say it with me. Tumbled. And what does tumbled mean? It means to roll around, right? So maybe rolling around or tumbling around on the floor with our friends and playing. Or it could mean that the waves were tumbling on the beach, right? Yeah. Tumbled. Say it with me. Tumbled. Mischief. Say it with me. Mischief. And what does mischief mean? It means to make trouble, right? So our parents may say, stop causing all that mischief. Or they may call us mischievous because we make a lot of trouble all the time, right? Yeah. So mischief. Say it with me. Mischief. So to wrap up our vocabulary lesson for the day, I want you to take out a piece of paper and a pencil, and I want you to write a sentence using each of our vocabulary words. So, how many sentences will we have to have? We have to have 5 sentences, right? And what words are we supposed to use? Private, frightened, gnashed, tumbled, and mischief. Okay, and as you can see, if I had any students with any learning disabilities, I would work one-on-one with them and helping them form their own sentences to use the 5 different vocabulary words and try to help them out with understanding them.